Today I'm making double chocolate brownies, and here are the ingredients that we need. 3 eggs, 1 1/4 cups of white sugar, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of chocolate chips, 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now I'm using unsalted butter. If you are using salted butter, simply omit the salt. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. Alright, so our first step is to get all of our flour into a slightly larger bowl, all of our cocoa, and we'll just mix that around. Doesn't that look great? Okay. And we'll add in our baking powder and just mix that all together. Alright, that's step number 1. Alright, so this is step number 2. I have my little portable heating element here. All I've done is put some water in here and I'm slowly heating it up. I'm going to take a glass bowl and I'm going to place it on top. You want to make sure that the water does not touch the bottom of your bowl, okay? There we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my butter into the bowl and all of our chocolate chips, okay? And at this point now, I don't want to have my water boiling, but I do want it warm. And I'm going to start slowly mixing all of this up together. And at this point also, I want you to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so at this point, I want to slowly melt my chocolate and my butter together. So I've got this on high right now, but I'm just waiting for it to come up to a simmer, and then I'm going to lower this right down because this element goes very, very, very fast. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the tape for a while here, and I'll come back when it starts to melt. Alright. I've just let it sit here for a while. You can see everything's melting up very nicely. So we'll just start to combine it. I'm just going to let it go a little longer though. You can see that it's not completely melted and I don't want to rush it. So I'm just going to leave this for another few minutes. So we'll just let this go a little bit longer. So I'm just going to let that gently heat. So I'll be back in maybe another 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, so this is about a minute later. And you can see it's fully melted now. So this is perfect. I've had this off for a little while. So I was just using the residual heat from underneath. So that is good now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up my work area. I don't need the little heating element anymore. And I will clean up here and we're going to start on the next step. Okay, so on to our next step. So at this point here, the only thing I've done is I've removed my heating element. I wiped the bottom of my bowl so that it's nice and dry. Now this is very, very warm, you know, almost hot. So at this point what we want to do is I'm going to get my sugar in there. And this is going to, you know, melt the sugar. But what it's also going to do is drop it to a point so that the eggs don't actually start to cook as we incorporate them. So we'll just get all of this mixed up. Okay. And then we've got 3 eggs to add, so we'll start adding those in. So we'll get our first egg. And what I'm going to do here is I just want to incorporate this a little bit better. Oh, this smells really, really good. I wish you could smell this. Okay, so we'll pop in our first egg. And if you want to use a hand mixer at this point, you can. I just feel like using my whisk. There we go. We'll get our second egg. As you can see, this is a really easy recipe, and it's a fun one too. And we'll get our second egg in there. And we'll get our third egg. Just pop that in. So that's egg number 3. And we'll just get all of this really well incorporated. And what you're going to need is either an 8x8 or a 9x9 square pan. And what I've done is I've lined one with parchment paper. You don't need to use parchment paper, but I am. And I'll show you that in a second. Okay. So there we go. You see, at this point right now, before we add in our dry ingredients, this is the point where you really want to get this well incorporated. Okay, that's good. Beautiful. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to get all of our dry ingredients in. And we're just going to slowly incorporate that. And at this point we have our oven going, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to bake the brownies for about a half an hour. Could be 25 minutes, it could be 30, could be 35, depending on your oven. And there we go. Alright, so what I have here is a 9x9 pan, and I got my parchment paper there. Like I said, you don't need it. What you can do is just spray it very lightly with some cooking spray, or if you want to take some margarine or butter and just go around. If you've got a good non-stick pan though, that's not even necessary. If you want to cut down on a little bit of the, the oil or fat, that's a good way to do it. Just, use a good quality little pan that's not scratched up and it'll come out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take all of this, make sure I'm on camera, and we're just going to dump that right in. And if you're using a spatula, you can see how easily everything comes out. And if you don't have a spatula, just use a spoon. And get all that goodness. Just get it all out. Oh, this smells so good. I'm just gently going to push it into the sides. I just want it even. And so what we're going to do, pop this into my 350 degree oven. So I'll do that now, and I'll see you in a little while. Alright, so I baked my double chocolate brownies for a total of 30 minutes. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a spatula. Always use something, rubbery like a spatula instead of using a spoon or a knife. If you're using a non-stick pan, you don't want to really scratch your pan. So using rubber or silicone is much safer. So just get it in there. There we go. We want to ensure that we're going to have a nice clean break. There we go. Perfect. And now we'll just lift them right out. And you see how easily that comes out? Isn't that nice? And I'll just get it on there. And there we go. Very warm still, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let these cool down a little bit, and then we'll cut into them. Alright, they've cooled down quite a bit, so let's get into them. I wish you could smell these. They smell really, really good. There we go. Just use another knife. You can cut them into any size pieces that you want. There we go. I just eat them like this, but you can put anything on top of them. You could sprinkle a little bit of icing sugar. You could put a little bit of drizzled chocolate on the top. Anything goes. I'll just show you these. My double chocolate brownies. These are really, really rich. So there we go. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.